The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Sun Tzu. Most people think they can tell how someone feels just by looking at their face, a quick glance at a smile or a frown, and they assume they've cracked the code. They believe they're masters of emotional intelligence. This is a dangerous delusion. The truth is, faces lie. They're masks we wear, carefully constructed facades designed to project an image, not to reveal the reality underneath. We've been conditioned to react to these superficial displays, to trust the smile even when the eyes tell a different story. And this makes us vulnerable, predictable pawns in a game we don't even realize we're playing. The real skill isn't reading faces, it's reading the human weather, the subtle shifts in body language, the inconsistencies in their words, the almost imperceptible changes in tone that betray their true emotional state. It's about understanding that what people say and what they actually mean are often worlds apart, and that navigating the complex landscape of human interaction requires a far deeper level of perception than simply reacting to surface-level emotions. We are here to give you that perception. The myth of easily readable emotions is perpetuated by a society obsessed with superficiality, with quick fixes and easy answers. We are told to trust our gut, to believe what we see, but our gut is often wrong, and what we see is often a carefully crafted illusion. Think about it. How many times have you been fooled by a charming smile, only to later discover a hidden agenda? How many times have you taken someone's words at face value, only to be betrayed by their actions? These experiences are not anomalies, they are the norm. Human beings are complex creatures, masters of deception, and unless you learn to see beyond the surface, you will continue to be manipulated, controlled, and outmaneuvered. This is not about paranoia, it's about awareness, about recognizing the subtle cues that reveal the truth hidden beneath the surface. It's about understanding that every interaction is a negotiation, a subtle power struggle, and that the ability to read the human weather is your most valuable weapon. The them are those who rely on simplistic interpretations of emotion, those who believe that a smile always means happiness, or that a frown always means sadness. They are the naive, the trusting, the easily led. They are the ones who fall prey to manipulators, who are taken advantage of in negotiations, who are constantly surprised by the actions of others. They are the ones who live in a world of illusion, never truly understanding the motivations of those around them. They react while we anticipate. They guess while we calculate. They are predictable while we are adaptable. And this difference is not a matter of intelligence, it's a matter of awareness, a matter of understanding the true nature of human interaction. We aim to remove the veil of illusion. The ability to read human weather is not an innate talent. It's a skill that can be learned, honed, and perfected. It requires careful observation, meticulous analysis, and a willingness to challenge your own assumptions. It involves paying attention to the microexpressions that flicker across the face, the subtle shifts in posture, the changes in vocal tone, and the inconsistencies between words and actions. It means understanding the context of the interaction, the power dynamics at play, and the underlying motivations of the individuals involved. It's about recognizing patterns, identifying anomalies, and developing a deep understanding of human psychology. And it starts with rejecting the simplistic notion that emotions are always easily readable on the surface. We will dissect the art. Consider the poker player. Their entire game hinges on their ability to conceal their own emotions and to accurately read the emotions of their opponents. They are masters of deception, using bluffs, tells, and carefully constructed personas to gain an advantage. They understand that the face is a mask, and that the real clues to their opponent's hands lie in the subtle nuances of their behavior. They are reading the human weather, and their success depends on their ability to do it accurately. The same principles apply in everyday life, in negotiations, in relationships, and in any situation where understanding the motivations of others is crucial. The stakes may not be as high as in a poker game, but the consequences of misreading the human weather can be just as significant. we will teach you to play poker with life. Ultimately, reading human weather is about developing a deeper understanding of human nature, about recognizing the complex interplay of emotions, motivations, and power dynamics that shape our interactions. It's about seeing beyond the surface, about uncovering the hidden agendas, and about navigating the social landscape with confidence and awareness. It's not about becoming cynical or distrustful. It's about becoming more perceptive, more discerning, and more effective in your interactions with others. It's about taking control of the game instead of being a pawn in someone else's. And it starts with acknowledging the myth of easily readable emotions and embracing the challenge of learning to read the human weather. The power to influence others rests on your ability to see them as they are, not as they present themselves. We are here to sharpen your sight. People are complex. Their motivations are often hidden, even from themselves. To truly understand someone, you must go beyond their words and observe their behavior. This is not about simple tricks or gimmicks. It's about developing a genuine understanding of human psychology. Imagine the human mind as a vast ocean, with conscious thoughts and emotions representing the surface waves, and unconscious desires and fears lurking in the depths. Reading human weather is like learning to interpret the subtle shifts in the currents, the changes in the wind, and the patterns of the waves to predict what lies beneath the surface. One of the biggest obstacles to reading human weather is our own biases and assumptions. We tend to project our own thoughts and feelings onto others, assuming that they see the world as we do. This is a dangerous trap because it prevents us from seeing people as they truly are. To overcome this bias, we must learn to cultivate a sense of detached observation, to approach each interaction with a beginner's mind, and to be willing to challenge our own assumptions. This requires a degree of self-awareness, an honest assessment of our own strengths and weaknesses, and a willingness to confront our own blind spots. Another key element of reading human weather is understanding the power of nonverbal communication. Body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, these are all valuable sources of information that can reveal what someone is really thinking and feeling. However, it's important to remember that nonverbal cues are not always reliable indicators of deception. People can learn to control their body language, to mask their emotions, and to present a false image to the world. This is why it's crucial to look for patterns and inconsistencies, to pay attention to the context of the situation, and to consider the individual's personality and background. The eyes, as they say, are the window to the soul. While this is a romantic notion, there's a kernel of truth to it. Eye contact, or the lack thereof, can be a telling sign of a person's confidence, interest, or deception. Pupils dilate when someone is excited or interested, and constrict when they're feeling threatened or defensive. Microexpressions, fleeting facial expressions that last only a fraction of a second, can reveal emotions that someone is trying to suppress. These are subtle cues that can be easily missed, but with practice and attention, you can learn to detect them. The ability to detect microexpressions is not about becoming a human lie detector. It's about developing a deeper understanding of the human experience, about recognizing the universality of emotions, and about connecting with others on a more profound level. By learning to read the subtle cues of body language and facial expressions, you can gain valuable insights into the thoughts and feelings of those around you. You can anticipate their reactions, understand their motivations, and build stronger, more meaningful relationships. Reading human weather is not a passive skill. It's an active process that requires constant attention and adjustment. People are constantly changing, their emotions are fluid, and their motivations are complex. To stay ahead of the game, you must be willing to adapt your strategies, to refine your understanding, and to continuously learn from your experiences. This requires a degree of flexibility, a willingness to experiment, and a commitment to lifelong learning. It is a continuous calibration. Consider the context of the interaction. A person's behavior in a formal business meeting will likely differ from their behavior at a casual social gathering. Cultural norms, social expectations, and personal relationships can all influence how people behave. It is crucial to take these factors into account when interpreting their actions. A seemingly aggressive gesture in one culture might be perfectly acceptable in another. A reserved demeanor might indicate politeness in one context and disinterest in another. Furthermore, understanding power dynamics is essential for reading human weather. People behave differently when they are in positions of power than when they are in positions of subordination. They will often attempt to assert their dominance through subtle cues, such as maintaining eye contact, invading personal space, or using a condescending tone of voice. Conversely, people who feel powerless may exhibit signs of deference, such as avoiding eye contact, shrinking away, or speaking in a hesitant manner. Ultimately, the goal of reading human weather is not to manipulate or control others, but to understand them better. It's about building stronger relationships, fostering empathy, and navigating the social landscape with greater awareness and confidence. By learning to see beyond the surface, by recognizing the hidden agendas, and by understanding the complex interplay of emotions and motivations, you can gain a significant advantage in all aspects of your life. The ability to accurately assess the emotional state and intentions of others is a powerful tool, one that can help you to succeed in business, in relationships, and in any situation where understanding human behavior is crucial. Consider a scenario, a negotiation for a crucial business deal. Two individuals, each representing their respective companies, sit across a polished conference table. The air is thick with anticipation, a palpable tension hanging between them. One individual, let's call him Mr. Hayes, leans back in his chair, a picture of relaxed confidence. He maintains steady eye contact, his posture open and inviting, yet there's a subtle hardness in his gaze, a calculated appraisal. He speaks in measured tones, his words carefully chosen, each sentence a calculated move in the ongoing chess match. He seems to radiate authority, effortlessly commanding the space. His counterpart, Ms. Chen, sits forward, her hands clasped tightly on the table. Her eye contact is intermittent, flickering away and then back, a sign of underlying nervousness. She speaks quickly, her voice slightly higher than usual, an indication of the pressure she feels. She frequently nods in agreement with Mr. Hayes, even when he makes statements that seem slightly unreasonable. On the surface, it appears that Mr. Hayes is in control, radiating confidence and authority, while Ms. Chen is deferential and perhaps even intimidated. However, a closer examination reveals a more complex dynamic at play. Mr. Hayes's relaxed posture might be a deliberate attempt to disarm Ms. Chen, to lull her into a false sense of security. His steady eye contact could be a form of intimidation, a way to assert his dominance and make her feel uncomfortable. The hardness in his gaze might betray a hidden anxiety, a fear that he is not as in control as he appears to be. Ms. Chen's nervousness, on the other hand, could be a strategic maneuver. Her rapid speech and intermittent eye contact might be designed to create a sense of urgency, to pressure Mr. Hayes into making concessions. Her frequent nodding could be a way of subtly manipulating him, making him feel that he is winning the negotiation, even when she is subtly guiding him towards her desired outcome. The tight clasp of her hands could indicate not only nervousness but also a steely resolve, a determination to protect her company's interests at all costs. Now, introduce a third player, an observer, someone trained in the art of reading human weather. This observer, let's call her Ms. Li, sits quietly in the corner taking notes. She is not directly involved in the negotiation, but she is there to provide insights into the emotional state and intentions of the two participants. Ms. Li notices subtle cues that might be missed by the untrained eye. She observes that Mr. Hayes occasionally taps his fingers on the table, a sign of impatience or frustration. She sees that Ms. Chen's lips tighten slightly when Mr. Hayes makes a particularly aggressive statement, a micro-expression that betrays her true feelings. She notes that both individuals occasionally glance at the clock, indicating a growing sense of pressure and a desire to bring the negotiation to a close. Ms. Li uses this information to provide her client, the CEO of Ms. Chen's company, with a strategic advantage. She advises the CEO to push for a key concession at a specific point in the negotiation, knowing that Mr. Hayes is likely to be feeling impatient and that Ms. Chen is likely to be feeling vulnerable. She also suggests that Ms. Chen use a particular tactic to appeal to Mr. Hayes' ego, knowing that he is likely to be susceptible to flattery. The scenario illustrates the importance of reading human weather in high-stakes situations. By understanding the emotional state and intentions of others, you can gain a significant advantage in negotiations, in business dealings, and in any situation where interpersonal dynamics are crucial. It requires careful observation, a deep understanding of human psychology, and the ability to see beyond the surface. It's about recognizing the subtle cues, interpreting the microexpressions, and understanding the underlying motivations that drive human behavior. It is also crucial to consider the context in which the interaction is taking place. The cultural background of the individuals involved, the power dynamics at play, and the specific goals of the negotiation all influence how people behave. A successful negotiator is not just someone who can articulate their position effectively, but also someone who can accurately read the human weather and adapt their strategy accordingly. The trap springs when you mistake human weather for something fixed, something predictable, something that can be mechanically exploited. It's the illusion of mastery, the belief that you've cracked the code and can now reduce people to simple algorithms. This is where the weak fail. They see anger and think provocation. They see sadness and think manipulation. They see joy and think distraction. They don't understand the fluid, ever-changing nature of emotion, the complex interplay of factors that contribute to a person's state of mind. They lack the nuance, the sensitivity, the awareness to truly connect with another human being. Their attempts at reading people become clumsy, transparent, and ultimately ineffective. They're like clumsy actors, reciting lines from a script they don't understand, completely oblivious to the reactions of their audience. They fail to calibrate, to adjust their approach based on real-time feedback. They become stuck in their own heads, trapped in their own limited understanding, unable to see the world from another person's perspective. This rigidity is their undoing. A master understands that human weather is not a static entity to be dissected and categorized. It is a dynamic process, a constant flow of energy that must be carefully observed and interpreted. A master isn't looking for simple triggers or predictable responses. A master is looking for patterns, tendencies, subtle shifts in behavior that reveal underlying motivations and intentions. A master understands that the most valuable information often lies beneath the surface, in the unspoken words, the fleeting expressions, the subtle cues that most people miss. They train themselves to see the world with greater clarity, to notice the details that others overlook. This requires constant practice, a willingness to challenge their own assumptions, and a deep respect for the complexity of human nature. The weak try to dominate, to control, to force others to conform to their will. The master understands that true power lies in understanding, in empathy, in the ability to connect with others on a deeper level. The weak are easily deceived by appearances, by charm, by flattery. They are vulnerable to manipulation because they are blinded by their own ego, their own desires, their own fears. The master is always skeptical, always questioning, always aware of the potential for deception. They don't take anything at face value. They look beneath the surface, scrutinize the motives, and assess the credibility of the source. They understand that trust is earned, not given, and that even the most trustworthy individuals are capable of making mistakes or being influenced by external factors. The trap is also set by relying solely on textbook knowledge or superficial techniques. You can read all the books on body language, memorize all the microexpressions, and practice all the NLP techniques, but if you lack genuine empathy and understanding, you will ultimately fail. These tools can be useful, but they are only tools. They are not a substitute for genuine human connection. True mastery comes from experience, from spending time with people, from observing their behavior in different contexts, from learning to understand their motivations, their fears, and their desires. It comes from developing a deep understanding of human nature, not just on an intellectual level, but on a visceral, intuitive level. The weak often fall prey to their own biases and prejudices. They see the world through a distorted lens, filtered by their own preconceived notions and stereotypes. They make assumptions about people based on their appearance, their background, or their beliefs, and they fail to see them as individuals. This lack of empathy and understanding makes them vulnerable to manipulation and prevents them from building genuine relationships. The master strives to overcome their own biases, to see the world from different perspectives, to understand the experiences of others. They recognize that everyone has their own unique story to tell, and they are willing to listen and learn. This open-mindedness allows them to connect with people on a deeper level and to build stronger, more meaningful relationships. Finally, the trap is sprung when you believe you are immune to being read yourself. The arrogance of thinking you can perfectly mask your own emotions and intentions is a fatal flaw. Everyone leaks information. Everyone exhibits tells. The master understands this and constantly works to refine their own self-awareness, to recognize their own vulnerabilities, and to control their own reactions. They understand that the best defense is a good offense, and they actively manage their own image and reputation. They are always aware of how they are being perceived by others, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. They are masters of self-control, able to maintain their composure even under pressure. They understand that in the game of human interaction, knowledge is power, and the more you know about yourself and others, the greater your chances of success. The strategy lies in becoming a meticulous observer of human behavior, a student of unspoken cues, and a master of calculated interaction. It's about recognizing that every individual broadcasts a unique weather pattern, a complex blend of emotional states, motivations, and vulnerabilities that shift and change with the slightest atmospheric pressure. You must learn to read these patterns with precision, to anticipate the storms and the calms, to navigate the turbulent currents of human emotion with unwavering focus. This begins with abandoning preconceived notions and embracing a state of constant observation. Forget the labels, the stereotypes, the easy classifications. See each person as a dynamic system, a network of interconnected elements that influence one another. Pay attention not just to what they say, but how they say it. Observe their body language, their microexpressions, the subtle shifts in their posture and tone. These are the telltale signs, the whispers of the subconscious mind revealing the truth behind the carefully constructed facade. Train yourself to notice the inconsistencies, the contradictions between words and actions. These are the cracks in the armor, the points of weakness that can be exploited by a skilled operator. But observation alone is not enough. You must also develop the ability to interpret what you see, to understand the underlying motivations that drive human behavior. This requires a deep understanding of psychology, a grasp of the fundamental needs and desires that shape our actions. Consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic human drive for survival, security, love, esteem, and self-actualization. Understand that everyone is motivated by these needs to varying degrees, and that their behavior is often a reflection of their attempts to satisfy them. Recognize that fear, insecurity, and a desire for validation are powerful motivators, and that these emotions can be easily manipulated by those who know how. Furthermore, master the art of active listening, the ability to truly hear and understand what another person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. Pay attention to their tone of voice, their choice of words, their body language. Ask clarifying questions to ensure you understand their perspective. Show genuine empathy and interest in their experiences. This will not only help you to build rapport and trust, but it will also provide you with valuable information about their beliefs, values, and motivations. Remember, information is power. The more you know about a person, the better equipped you are to influence their behavior. And do not underestimate the power of mirroring. Subtly mimic the body language, tone of voice, and communication style of the person you are interacting with. This creates a sense of rapport and connection, making them feel more comfortable and receptive to your influence. People are naturally drawn to those who are like them, and mirroring is a powerful way to establish a sense of similarity and understanding. But be careful not to overdo it, as blatant mimicry can be off-putting and even insulting. The key is to be subtle and natural, to mirror just enough to create a sense of connection without being obvious. Beyond these tactics, develop your ability to control your own emotions and reactions. This is essential for maintaining composure in high-pressure situations and for preventing others from reading your own tells. Practice mindfulness and meditation to cultivate a greater awareness of your own thoughts and feelings. Learn to recognize the physical sensations that accompany different emotions, such as anxiety, anger, or fear. This will allow you to identify these emotions as they arise and to take steps to manage them before they overwhelm you. Develop strategies for calming yourself down in stressful situations, such as deep breathing exercises or visualization techniques, and never let your emotions cloud your judgment. Always strive to maintain a rational and objective perspective, even when you are feeling strong emotions. Finally, never underestimate the power of perception. People's perceptions of you are just as important as your actual abilities. Cultivate a reputation for competence, integrity, and trustworthiness. Be consistent in your words and actions. Treat others with respect and fairness, and always strive to present yourself in a positive and confident light. Remember, you are constantly being observed and evaluated by others. Your reputation precedes you, and it can have a significant impact on your ability to influence others. Therefore, it is essential to actively manage your image and to cultivate a reputation that will serve you well in the long run. All of these strategies work together to create a complete picture of the individual, allowing you to anticipate their moves, understand their weaknesses, and ultimately, to control the narrative. This is the Machiavellian approach to reading human weather, a calculated and strategic approach to understanding and influencing human behavior. Just as a seasoned general studies the terrain, anticipates the enemy's movements, and exploits their weaknesses to achieve victory, you too must adopt a similar approach in your social interactions. Consider the rise and fall of empires, the strategies employed in warfare, and the calculated maneuvers used to gain dominance. These historical parallels offer valuable insights into the dynamics of human behavior and the subtle art of social manipulation. Every empire at its peak possessed a keen understanding of its adversaries. They understood their cultural values, their economic strengths and weaknesses, and their political vulnerabilities. This knowledge was not merely academic. It was the foundation upon which their strategic decisions were based. Similarly, in your own social interactions, you must strive to understand the motivations, desires, and vulnerabilities of those around you. This requires careful observation, active listening, and a willingness to see the world from their perspective. The most successful military campaigns are not those that rely solely on brute force, but those that employ cunning, deception, and psychological warfare. Sun Tzu, in his Art of War emphasizes the importance of knowing your enemy and yourself, and of using deception to mislead and confuse them. This same principle applies in the social arena. To gain an advantage, you must be willing to use a variety of tactics, including subtle forms of deception, such as misdirection and strategic ambiguity. However, it is important to note that these tactics should be used ethically and responsibly, with the goal of achieving a mutually beneficial outcome, rather than simply exploiting others for your own gain. Frame control, as we've discussed, is analogous to controlling the high ground in a battle. By shaping the narrative and influencing the perceptions of others, you can dictate the terms of engagement and steer the conversation in your desired direction. This requires a deep understanding of psychology, persuasion, and rhetoric. You must be able to anticipate the arguments of your opponents, to identify their emotional triggers, and to craft your message in a way that resonates with their values and beliefs. Consider the strategies employed by skilled negotiators. They often begin by establishing a rapport with their counterparts, building trust and creating a sense of shared understanding. They then proceed to carefully frame the issues at stake, highlighting the potential benefits of reaching an agreement and downplaying the risks of failure. Throughout the negotiation process, they remain flexible and adaptable, willing to compromise on certain points in order to achieve their overall objectives. This same approach can be applied in any social situation, from negotiating a raise with your boss to resolving a conflict with a friend or family member. The ability to read human weather, to anticipate the emotional states of others, is essential for effective communication and persuasion. By understanding the subtle cues that reveal a person's true feelings, you can tailor your message to resonate with them on a deeper level. For example, if you detect that someone is feeling anxious or insecure, you can offer reassurance and support. If you sense that they are feeling angry or defensive, you can adopt a more conciliatory tone. And if you perceive that they are feeling receptive and open-minded, you can present your arguments with greater confidence and conviction. Ultimately, the goal is not to manipulate others in a way that is harmful or exploitative, but to build stronger relationships, to foster greater understanding, and to achieve mutually beneficial outcomes. By understanding the dynamics of human behavior, by mastering the art of frame control, and by learning to read human weather, you can become a more effective communicator, a more persuasive negotiator, and a more successful leader. The lessons learned from history, from the study of warfare, and from the observation of human nature can provide you with the tools and the insights you need to navigate the complex social landscape and to achieve your goals with greater confidence and effectiveness. Just remember that knowledge is power, and the more you understand about the human psyche, the better equipped you will be to succeed in any endeavor. The human psyche, a landscape of shifting emotions and hidden agendas, operates under a set of principles that, once understood, become predictable. Think of it as a weather system. You don't need to be a meteorologist to know dark clouds often precede rain, and similarly, you don't need a psychology degree to recognize the signs of impending emotional shifts in others. The key is observation, pattern recognition, and the understanding that human behavior, however erratic it may seem on the surface, is often driven by deeply ingrained psychological needs and fears. People crave validation, fear rejection, and are constantly striving for a sense of control over their environment and their interactions. These desires are not always conscious, and they often manifest in subtle behavioral cues: a tightening of the jaw, a fleeting glance, a change in vocal tone. These micro-expressions, as they're often called, are the telltale signs of the internal weather patterns brewing beneath the surface. Consider the concept of cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort experienced when holding conflicting beliefs or values. People are driven to reduce this dissonance, often by rationalizing their behavior or changing their beliefs. This drive can be exploited or, more ethically, understood and navigated. For example, if you present someone with information that contradicts their existing worldview, they may initially resist it. However, by gently guiding them through a series of questions that lead them to question their own assumptions, you can help them to resolve the dissonance and become more receptive to your message. This isn't about tricking them. It's about understanding the psychological processes at play and using them to facilitate a more open and honest dialogue. Another key aspect of reading human weather is understanding the power of projection. People often project their own feelings and insecurities onto others, attributing their own motivations and biases to their actions. This can lead to misunderstandings and misinterpretations, but it can also provide valuable insights into their own inner world. For instance, if someone is constantly accusing others of being dishonest, it may be a sign that they themselves are struggling with their own integrity. By recognizing these projections, you can gain a deeper understanding of their underlying motivations and tailor your communication accordingly. Furthermore, understanding the concept of transference, often discussed in therapeutic settings, becomes useful. Transference refers to the unconscious redirection of feelings from one person to another. In everyday interactions, this might manifest as someone reacting to you based on past experiences with someone who reminds them of you. Recognizing this and understanding it is not about you, allows you to adjust your approach to not trigger those past unresolved emotions. Moreover, understanding the role of framing is crucial. The way you present information, the context in which you place it, can have a profound impact on how it is received. Consider the classic example of framing a glass as half full or half empty. The same information is presented in two different ways, leading to two different interpretations. Similarly, in social interactions, you can frame your message in a way that appeals to the other person's values and beliefs, making it more likely that they will be receptive to your ideas. This doesn't mean being disingenuous. It means understanding your audience and tailoring your message to resonate with them on a deeper level. By understanding their underlying motivations, their fears, and their desires, you can craft a narrative that speaks to their heart and mind. Finally, remember the importance of emotional intelligence. This is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. It involves self-awareness, empathy, and social skills. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing your emotions or manipulating others. It's about understanding the role that emotions play in human behavior and using that knowledge to build stronger relationships and achieve more effective communication. It requires constant self-reflection, a willingness to learn from your mistakes, and a commitment to understanding the perspectives of others. By developing your emotional intelligence, you can become a more attuned observer of human behavior, a more effective communicator, and a more persuasive negotiator. You'll begin to see the chessboard, the unspoken moves, the gambits, and the defensive postures people assume in their daily interactions. This perspective allows you to navigate these interactions with increased awareness and strategic intent, always striving for mutual understanding and respect, even within competitive social environments. Consider this scenario. A senior executive, let's call him Mr. Harding, is known for his demanding and often abrasive leadership style. He consistently pushes his team to their limits, setting unrealistic deadlines and publicly criticizing those who fail to meet his expectations. His office is like a pressure cooker, filled with anxiety and a palpable fear of failure. One day, a junior manager, Sarah, presents a project proposal to Mr. Harding. She has meticulously prepared her presentation, anticipating his potential objections and crafting compelling counterarguments. However, as she begins to speak, Mr. Harding interrupts her, dismissing her ideas as impractical and unoriginal. He belittles her efforts, questioning her competence in front of her colleagues. Sarah, though initially confident, begins to feel her resolve crumble under the weight of his harsh criticism. Her voice trembles, her hands shake, and her carefully constructed arguments evaporate from her mind. She becomes flustered, unable to effectively defend her proposal. Mr. Harding, sensing her vulnerability, presses his advantage, further undermining her confidence and asserting his dominance. The scene unfolds as a clear demonstration of power dynamics in play. Harding's intentional manipulation of Sarah's emotional state serves as a strategic advantage. He exploits her initial nervousness, amplifying it through negative reinforcement and public humiliation. In this environment, Sarah's intellectual capacity is effectively neutralized. The core elements of her proposal, regardless of their merit, become overshadowed by the psychological pressure Harding applies. His behavior isn't merely about delivering constructive criticism. It's a calculated effort to maintain control and reinforce his position of authority. The long-term consequences of such interactions are significant. Sarah, now emotionally bruised and demoralized, is likely to experience a decline in her overall performance. She may become hesitant to take risks, fearing further criticism and public embarrassment. Her creativity and innovation will be stifled, and she will likely withdraw from active participation in team discussions. The toxic environment created by Mr. Harding's leadership style will permeate the entire team, fostering a culture of fear, resentment, and distrust. Team members will become more focused on avoiding his wrath than on collaborating effectively and achieving shared goals. The overall productivity and morale of the team will suffer, leading to increased employee turnover and a decline in the quality of work. Harding's actions have a ripple effect far beyond the immediate encounter with Sarah. Analyzing Harding's tactics reveals a pattern of behavior designed to maintain control and suppress dissent. He uses intimidation, public humiliation, and negative reinforcement to create an atmosphere of fear, making it difficult for his team members to challenge his authority or express dissenting opinions. He strategically targets individuals he perceives as vulnerable or ambitious, using their desire for approval against them. By constantly raising the bar and setting unrealistic expectations, he creates a sense of perpetual inadequacy, ensuring that his team members are always striving to please him. This dynamic allows him to maintain a position of power and control, effectively stifling creativity and innovation within the team. The scenario highlights the importance of recognizing and addressing such toxic leadership behaviors. Organizations must cultivate a culture of psychological safety, where employees feel comfortable expressing their ideas and concerns without fear of retribution. Leaders should be trained to provide constructive feedback, foster collaboration, and empower their team members to take risks and learn from their mistakes. By creating a supportive and inclusive environment, organizations can unlock the full potential of their employees and achieve greater success. This situation goes beyond simple bad management. It exposes the undercurrents of manipulation and control that exist in many professional environments. The ability to recognize these patterns is the first step in neutralizing their impact and fostering healthier, more productive relationships. Sarah's experience is a microcosm of the larger social game, a reminder that awareness and strategic thinking are essential for navigating the complexities of human interaction. Human beings are walking barometers, constantly reacting to the subtle pressures and shifts in their environment. Understanding this, human weather, requires you to move beyond surface-level observations and delve into the underlying currents that drive behavior. It's about recognizing the patterns of influence, the unspoken power dynamics, and the emotional vulnerabilities that shape interactions. To effectively read human weather, you must cultivate a keen awareness of both verbal and nonverbal cues. Pay attention to changes in tone of voice, body language, and facial expressions. These subtle signals often betray the true emotions and intentions that individuals attempt to mask. Observe how people respond to stress, pressure, and conflict. Do they become defensive and withdrawn, or do they become aggressive and domineering? Their reactions will reveal their underlying psychological makeup and their preferred strategies for navigating social challenges. Furthermore, consider the context in which these interactions take place. A person's behavior in a casual social setting may differ significantly from their behavior in a high-stakes professional environment. Understanding the specific pressures and expectations that are at play will provide valuable insight into their motivations and actions. The ability to accurately assess human weather is not merely a passive observation skill. It is a strategic advantage that can be used to influence and control the outcome of social interactions. By understanding the emotional landscape of those around you, you can anticipate their reactions, tailor your communication style, and effectively manage their perceptions. Master the art of emotional calibration, the ability to match and mirror the emotional state of another person. This creates a sense of rapport and trust, making them more receptive to your influence. Use leading questions to guide the conversation and uncover their hidden assumptions and beliefs. Control the frame, shaping the narrative to your advantage and steering the interaction towards your desired outcome. However, remember that the effective use of these techniques requires a deep understanding of human psychology and a commitment to ethical behavior. The goal is not to manipulate or exploit others, but rather to create mutually beneficial outcomes and foster stronger, more meaningful relationships. Recognize that everyone is susceptible to influence, and even the most stoic and rational individuals can be swayed by emotional appeals and subtle manipulations. The key is to identify their vulnerabilities and tailor your approach accordingly. Understand their needs, desires, and fears, and use this knowledge to create a compelling narrative that resonates with their deepest values. Learning to interpret human weather patterns is like learning a new language, a language of subtle cues and unspoken intentions. It requires constant practice, careful observation, and a willingness to challenge your own assumptions. The more adept you become at reading these signals, the better equipped you will be to navigate the complexities of social interaction and achieve your desired outcomes. Master this skill, and you will see the world in a new light,